Hi everyone, and welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul, and once again, we have JJ from ASUS here. JJ, thank you for stopping by today.
Thank you for having me.
And what we're going to be talking about today is this new ASUS ROG X79 motherboard. Now, if you're into ASUS ROG, you probably know that ROG, Republic of Gamers, is basically the top-notch, the best of the best, the sort of everything and the kitchen sink approach to motherboard as well as video card design. If you're going for ROG stuff, it is because you wish to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women. So, that being said, this is the Rampage 4 Extreme. This is the X79 chipset. This is the 2011 socket, and this is an Intel Sandy Bridge E processor, the latest and greatest of the enthusiast level processors. And JJ, I am sure that you and the ROG team have done a lot with the Rampage 4 Extreme to make sure that it is just about everything you could possibly get in an X79 platform.
Definitely. I mean, you know, when it comes to ROG, we spend a huge amount of time and resource to really kind of pushing the design envelope. You know, it really starts with a lot of feedback from the community. I spend a lot of time in the different forums, taking back commentary from the different sites that I work with, even, you know, referencing like our YouTube comments here, that when we do our videos, you know, we take to heart a lot of the earnest feedback that we get from our enthusiasts, our gamers, media, you know, our system integrator partners, and that all goes into ROG, where we're allowed to kind of push the envelope in every single direction that we can to try to get the absolute most out of the platform. And that's what really the Rampage 4 Extreme is. I mean, we've kind of really set the bar with previous boards, but this bar kind of takes it to the nth degree in terms of the actual options that we have available here. So both on a hardware level as well as on the UEFI level, there's really some unprecedented level of options that are available here, and the hardware is there to definitely back it up. So I guess just jumping straight into the actual board, we're going to go into some pretty nitty and gritty in terms of really showing why ROG is about that user that's looking to push the envelope. I mean, we do have users that sometimes are just looking for the absolute overbuilt, you know, greatest board that they can get, and it'll serve their purpose if they want to run stock operation, and they're still going to get a fantastic board. You know, and we get some guys that still will run stock and they'll run multi-GPU just because the platform enables it. But, you know, for the guy that's willing to push the platform, you know, whether it's under air, whether it's under water, or even under other environments as well that are more extreme, you know, this is definitely going to be the board that'll give you the most headroom in terms of what you can achieve for X79 and for a Sandy Bridge E processor.
And now, if I may start us off in sort of maybe not what you would expect, I'd like to start and talk about the SLI bridges that are included with this motherboard.
Sure, that's a
if I may. All right,
feedback.
So first of all, SLI bridges, right, here they are. And this board's also Crossfire X capable, but
Yes.
Crossfire X bridges usually come with the video card itself. But first off, look, they have actually put nice ROG logos there on your Crossfire bridges, which is one of the most visible parts, especially if you have a side panel on your case. But there's a couple 2 and 3 card slot for double card SLI setups. We also have this guy here, which can easily set you up for 3-way SLI.
Or actually, I like even using it for 2-way because since the board is optimally designed for both 2-way, 3-way, and even 4-way, I actually like having the extra slot spacing and just run that and just have nice, like having the dual bridge for the dual GPUs.
So you can get the solid PCB there, but actually run that across for your 2-way setup, or 3-way if you want to.
Just depends on how you want it.
And then, finally we have this little guy right here, which is a 4-way SLI bridge for NVIDIA cards, of course. And this motherboard, without an ROG expander, capable of 4-way SLI, just with the current configuration.
Yep, you got it right. I mean, that's partly, of course, enabled by the PCI Gen 3 support that's enabled both on a hardware level with the actual switches as well as from the lanes that are provided from the CPU. But this board really speaks to the hardcore enthusiast gamer or the hardcore enthusiast that's really looking for high-level multi-GPU support. So as we said, 2-way, of course, is a gimme, 3-way is a gimme, but 4-way really makes it cool. And the cool thing is that we're still doing it within a fairly reasonable form factor in terms that it's EAATX, so not a crazy XL specification. So this will still work in a lot of your normal chassis that are on the market, but you're able to go ahead and incorporate, you know, a 4-way SLI configuration. And we even do potentially have actually a special ribbon that will actually support triple slot 3-way configurations. So really this board can kind of speak to any type of multi-GPU configuration that you could run.
So for a lot of those new and very popular direct CU2 cards that use triple slot coolers,
Correct.
can still do 2 or 3 of those using this board.
Yep, you got it. So jumping, I guess, here into the hardware level design, you know, we've got definitely a lot to detail on. So go ahead and move these bridges out of your way, and we're going to go into some of these hardware-based features. So first and foremost, you know, just kind of like an enthusiast level grade of hardware, what we first want to focus on is the power delivery and the component selection. So with ROG, you know, we really pride ourselves on trying to pick the absolute best components that we can for the market. And what that means is we're trying to look for components that, one, do their job efficiently. So that should mean that they help to actually have a higher power rating. They're going to run cooler in terms of operation, have a longer lifespan, and overall give us better performance for the amount of power being inputted into those devices. And then we're also just looking for something that's going to help to extend the actual range in terms of performance. So if that's providing us more amperage, more current delivery, more stable current flow, different variables like that, that's what it comes down to when we're picking hardware selection. So one of the first ones we can see very visible is actually that the capacitors, which are normally silver on boards, we can see we actually have black caps here. These are actually the cutting-edge flagship Nichicon GT series capacitors on the market. They have a significantly higher temperature rating, and they're also more efficient in terms of their capacitance ability. So not only do they store more and can put out more, but they also can operate far more efficiently and for a longer period of time under longer temperatures. Part of the choice to do this was not only to pick the best component in terms of what we could put on the board, but it was also because in a high temperature, high ambient environment, especially when you have multiple GPUs, you know, 2, 3, 4 GPUs all running full active load, this whole area is going to raise up in terms of its internal ambience. So if the previously rated capacitor was maybe only rated up to 50 C, it's going to make a big difference if we have a capacitor that now could reach in excess of 100 C in terms of its continuous operation. So that was one of the key choices in terms of what we call our Extreme Engine Digi 2 design. So the capacitor makes up one part. The next part that we have is we have our black metallic chokes. So those are the chokes that you can't necessarily see easily, but they're underneath this VRM heatsink design that we have here. Those chokes are rated up to 50 amps in terms of their actual power delivery. So an extremely high level of performance that definitely is going to be able to make sure that you can ensure high level overclock. So, you know, 4.8, 4.9, 5 gigahertz plus overclock, even under very high level thread applications or even under stress tests. And of course, for the guys that are going to be really pushing the envelope under more extreme forms of cooling, then that's going to help you to drive those frequencies as well. So that's those black metallic chokes. The next one is that is a very interesting choice that we had to make, not only because of based off efficiency and power delivery, but also because of the space constraints that we had with the VRM size that's specific to the 2011 socket, and that's using a brand new MOSFET package. It's called the NEXFET MOSFET package power block design, and that's a much more efficient, much more capable power delivery system for the actual entire phase loop, which is your capacitor, your choke, and your MOSFET, excuse me, your driver MOSFET and choke. So that makes up that Extreme Engine Digi Plus overall system, and the backbone of that is all controlled and configurable by our Digi Plus power design. So we still maintain, we have the digital PWM on the board, and we then have the digital DRAM controller on the board. So that's helping to extend the overall configuration parameters, control parameters for both the VRM, so that's like switching frequency, load line calibration, overcurrent protection. All those variables can now be controlled for both the DRAM and for the CPU. And when we take into consideration then the advanced options that we've put into the UEFI, they give us really an insane amount of options when it comes to memory control, timing parameters, and a whole lot of very deep level platform configuration parameters. Really, the R4E is just unprecedented in the terms of controls that you have available to you.
The ROG UEFI, definitely the most complex, as well as just the most level of fine-grained control that you have over all of those different parameters.
Yeah, I would unequivocally say it's the most advanced UEFI that's ever been released. So it's pretty insane. I mean, we definitely are still very adamant that we want to keep very robust auto rules. So auto rules mean that the user can still go in there, make a couple of key changes to just, you know, maybe the multiplier of voltage in one point, and still be able to, you know, reboot back up, get into their OS, and have a nice, clean, solid overclock. So definitely by no means does the extent of the controls mean that we're limiting the ease of use to our more basic users, but definitely for the guys that are going to be more knowledgeable and have the time and patience to go through really taking advantage of all the options, they're going to be rewarded with a platform that's going to be able to be pushed farther than any other board out there. And that takes us to kind of one of these other topics that we can see here is we can see that we have 8 DIMM just like any of our other boards, but that UEFI, the digital DRAM controller design, helps to really extend and give us another level of performance. As we'll be showing in our upcoming overclocking video, we've got 64 gigabytes of memory here. This is 1866, 64 gigs of active memory on this platform that even under an overclock parameter, because of the UEFI, the advanced digital power control designs are letting us take advantage to be able to configure this platform even with such a high density and high frequency and be able to have it actually operate smoothly, efficiently, and with high level of stability, which is quite difficult, as we've discussed in the past, when you run these high density configurations without the right tuning, without the right optimization, especially when you have such complex design where you've got so much going on this end, so much trace layout, all this I/O, it can get very complex in terms of being able to tune all those parameters, but we've done that all in the back end to make sure that we have the ability to run very complex configurations like that.
Now we should mention, just since we're showing this to everyone here, the 64 gigs of Corsair Dominator GT memory sold separately.
Sold separately, yeah.
Unfortunately.
We have a cool bundle that we'll talk about that will come with the R4E, but sadly this awesome kit of memory will not. So let's go ahead and just finish taking a look at here on some of the actual connectivity that we have in terms of PCIe. So we can see we have a fully native physical by 16 slot layout, and like I said, that's just to reinforce the connectivity options for two-way, three-way, or four-way configurations, or if you're running two-way, which we still expect to be the most common, you still have PCI Express connectivity for maybe a high-end RAID solution, or maybe a different type of adapter card, maybe a sound card, whatever it might be, the flexibility's there. In terms of the next options, of course, fan controls are still always something that we've had a huge amount of focus on ROG because we have enthusiast platforms, people that are interested in water cooling, very extensive, high-performance chassis like an 800D or a Carbide series where they want a lot of fan controls. Same thing like always, we're giving you an extreme amount of fan connectivity where they're all 4-pin. You can go into the UEFI, you can go into the operating system, be able to make the adjustments to the target temperatures as well as to the actual rotation parameters. So a lot of amount of flexibility that you have there. Moving over to some of the other options that we see on the bottom portion of the board, we've got dual BIOS, which is kind of an industry standard now for us in terms of ROG. The big thing that makes our dual BIOS implementation unique is that these are fully bootable BIOS chips. So we can run one complete build on this and we can run another complete build on here. And even within these builds, we can have profiles specific to what you've tuned and customized to that actual ROM version. So this is great if maybe you want to have this maybe be a backup full stock running BIOS or UEFI, and here you could have that maybe be your consistent 4.8 gigahertz overclock. And it's easy for the user, whether it's within the actual UEFI or via this switch that they can switch back and forth actually between the two BIOS chips. And we also take pride in the fact that we use swappable chips as opposed to solder-based design. So in the event that if anything gets corrupted or needs to get replaced, these chips can be removed and you can go ahead and just replace it and get back up and running. But we do have some special features in terms of USB BIOS flashing that we'll discuss in a little bit. Moving over to the rest of the connectivity, pretty straightforward, standard USB 2 ports, but we've got one front USB 3 header here. So let's go ahead and move over to this side in terms of the connectivity, and we can see we've got a lot going on here as well. So we've got 8 serial ATA ports here, and we're utilizing SATA 6G, 2 additional controllers here. This is actually our more advanced by 4 PCI Express SATA 6G connector, so it offers more bandwidth than a standard by 1 SATA 6G secondary add-in controller chip. So that helps to reinforce why ROG is helping to promote more advanced performance. For most of these users, they're looking really to get RAID-based configurations, so that's part of the reason why we've also included that here. Now, outside of the 8 serial ATA ports, we have this guy, which kind of looks like a SATA port, but it's not. This is actually what we refer to as our Sub-Zero Sense connection. This is really designed for kind of extreme enthusiasts, for guys that want to be able to have some more advanced sub-zero based temperature monitoring. Most temperature monitoring at or below 0 is not going to be accurate in terms of its actual registering. You generally need a high quality K-probe with some type of multimeter to be able to register these readings, and that can be fairly expensive. So what we've done is integrate the actual connection point here on the board. You can go ahead and purchase an external K-probe, go ahead and connect it here, and then just attach it to wherever point you want to register, and you can now have accurate low-level temperature readings, whether they're under maybe chilled water environments or, of course, in more extreme environments like phase change, dry ice, or even liquid helium.
Anything that will take you below 0.
Yeah, pretty much most of your sensors at 0, even up to maybe about negative 20 C can maybe work, just depending on different prevailing conditions on your ambient temperature, but this will help to ensure much more reliable, accurate temperature readings. So we move over here and we can continue to see that we've got a lot of connectivity. Of course, another couple of the fan headers that we've already discussed, but we've got the front USB 3, and then here we have what's referred to kind of like our tweaker zone, our mod zone. So we've got the go button and the memo K button. So the memo K button functions in terms of helping to resolve memory compatibility issues when you first power on your system, or can also serve like as a semi-clear CMOS. A lot of users actually use it in that capacity, because if you clear the CMOS, what happens? You lose all your settings, not just your overclock settings, but your RAM settings, your timings, your serial ATA configuration, your fan profiles, all that gets cleared out. If you use this, it actually would only adjust just frequency-related parameters. It'll relax them to the point the system can post, ensure normal boot operation, but it won't reset all those other parameters. So you can use it like a semi-clear CMOS. When you use it once the system is active, the go button will initialize an overclock profile that you can define within the actual UEFI interface, so that you have a customized preset that you can quickly overclock to by clicking that button. These little switches right here are pretty awesome. They allow you to actually run either a diagnostic troubleshooting process or initialize only some of these actually PCI slots depending on your usage. Potentially maybe your system isn't posting, you see the QLED lights that we have diagnose and tell you that maybe one of these PCIe slots isn't working correctly, and maybe you go ahead and you switch 4 off and you see the system post correctly. You didn't have to remove it. You could just electrically shut that lane off, then the board will go ahead and post back up and you'd be back up and running. For the benching community, for guys that do a lot of testing, sometimes they want to first initially maybe prep the board, put all the GPUs in there, but they want to run maybe one GPU first, then a second, then a third. So what they could also do is they could just disable those, and as they need to go from single card to 2-way to 3-way to 4-way, they just enable the switches. So you can serve from both not only a functional purpose, but also a diagnostic purpose.
Very handy.
Moving over to kind of some diagnostic purposes, we have, of course, our probit section, which gives you actually a connection points, which we include here, which you can go ahead and just jack these in here to these little points. You connect your multimeter and you can get real-time, live, accurate, of course, voltage readings. We have our standard, of course, reset and start buttons. We have a debug LED code, which works in concert just like our other boards with the QLED system, which can give you a real-time visual diagnostic for an LED. Now, something that's a little bit harder to see here, but we have them, is we have a couple of little red pin connections. These red pin connections actually are called our VGA hot wire. So VGA hot wire is a pretty insane feature. What you can do is you can take a graphics card, and if the end user was to modify the graphics card and solder connection points on the graphics card, and we'll be detailing information like how to do this in our ROG forums, the user can actually then have full, complete low-level control of their graphics card directly within either the operating system or within the UEFI directly. And the reason why they can do that is they can connect these kind of leads here. They don't come included, but these type of leads here that you can pick up, you attach them to the graphics card, and then all of a sudden in your UEFI you could see your frequency, you could see the temperature, the fan speed, the voltages, all these parameters, and you can openly modify and adjust them. So you don't even have to have any utilities. So it's a very extensive, customizable platform in terms of being able to interface with not only the board level, but also the GPUs on the board.
That's a feature I've never seen before.
Yeah, like I said, you know, the R4 really pushes the limit here. We've got a specialized what we call slow mode operation button. This is to help initialize higher frequencies under more extreme environments, especially in terms of colder operational parameters. This helps to have the board post and boot. So it's a more extreme oriented feature, but for the guys, it's really a lifesaver in terms of being able to help bring back a board in these environments where it's tougher to get it posting, especially when it's colder. So let's go ahead and take a look here a little bit on the VRM, where we can see that we have, of course, a advanced sintered heat pipe assembly that goes across the that NextFET power block design that we talked about and the chokes. Of course, it goes ahead and moves over here to help extend the heat dissipation ability, and then we have, of course, a specialized backplate to help extend the dissipation ability all around. So this is really helping you showcase that the R4E is really a board that's designed to be able to take the punishment in terms of really pushing it at these higher frequencies, but at the same time provide really high quality cooling, even if you're running stock or normal operation. So when we move over to the back plane in terms of kind of our normal day in and day out connectivity, what do we have going on here? We've got some pretty cool stuff. We've got our classic combo PS2 port, and that's a request still from gamers that of course want to be able to have no overflow in terms of the buffer. We've got the USB 2 ports, we've got a clear CMOS button, and we have our classic ROG Connect button, which as you can see here allows us to have low-level control via like something like a tablet, a notebook, a desktop PC, or you could use the Bluetooth implementation also to have it wirelessly via a tablet or a cell phone, different type of device where you can do low-level monitoring. You can see the diagnostic codes, you can restart the system, you can see your fan speeds, a lot of really cool information that becomes very usable. If you think about it, a lot of the diagnostic functions like a debug LED or the QLED, once they go inside of a case, can you use them? No.
Not
right?
if you can't see them.
Exactly. So it's nice to actually be able to have something that you can have connected and then just have there on your desk, even though this is inside your chassis, and you could still post it up, and you could even see what's called in string format, not in code format, which is just the number, but in string, where it tells you memory does not initialize or VGA does not initialize. So ROG Connect is not really just for somebody that is looking for more advanced overclocking support, but can also be a real good diagnostic tool. Now, when we go ahead and don't use it in the ROG Connect fashion, this also still serves as our normal USB BIOS flashback that lets us flash the BIOS, of course, with no CPU, no memory, no graphics card, just standby power, right? We've got our 3 other USB 2 ports, and this still serves as a USB 2 port when not in either USB BIOS flashback mode or ROG Connect mode. We've got an eSATA port, 2 more USB 2 ports, the Bluetooth 2.1 plus EDR. Then we have 4 USB 3 ports. These all support our USB 3 boost technology to help extend USB 2 to USB 3 performance. You've got the Intel Gigabit Ethernet, 1 more eSATA port, and then we have our multi-channel surround package, which utilizes that new Realtek 898 codec on board. So overall, I mean, that's not even all of it, of course.
There's
that's
more?
That's just what we have there on the board, but rounding out really 2 of the really cool things that this board has to offer that are independent of the board but really help to extend ROG are 2 really cool accessories, right? So we discussed here that on this platform, what do we have? We have a new socket, right? But what happens if you maybe have an older water cooling block? Maybe you're running a really nice, 1366 base A cooler, right? So what are you going to do? We're actually making it a little bit easier for you. We're giving you a 1366 backplate included with the unit so that you can go ahead and replace this, and then we'll allow you to go ahead and mount your normal 1366 base cooler. So you don't have to go out and purchase a new cooler. There's definitely some awesome 2011 coolers on the market, but this is a really great option that's exclusive to our ROG boards.
Okay.
And then the last guy right here is something pretty unique, and it's entirely exclusive, and it's really come out of our guys' kind of commitment to innovation in terms of ROG. This little guy is called the OC key.
OC key.
And the OC key essentially is kind of born from a lot of feedback that we've had for ROG Connect as well as the RC Connect. Now with both of those, you have to have some type of external based device. So whether that's like a tablet, like a notebook, a desktop PC, a cell phone, whatever it might be, you still have to have some type of external device. Now we have, of course, software within the operating system that allows you to run that actively while you're running your system, and you can make full real-time hardware controls. But OC Key takes this even further. What you would actually do with it is you install this by first installing your graphics card. This would then plug into the DVI port on your graphics card. There's then a cable that connects from here to the actual board. It's included within the actual package. And what this will actually do is provide you an on-screen overlay that's fully hardware-based, does not consume any type of software resources, doesn't run actively in the operating system, and will allow you to make full real-time adjustments to frequency, voltages, fan configurations, all on the fly dynamically. On top of that, for more basic users, if you're looking for just monitoring based information, you can be in the middle of the game, maybe you want to know CPU information such as your frequency, your temperatures, your voltages. You can see that at a glance, click a key and then back out, and you don't have to see it anymore. And it's all instantaneously mitigated directly through this implementation that flows through the graphics controller onto your on-screen display that you'll see on your screen. So this is an exclusive that comes with the Rampage 4 Extreme.
So you can control it using your keyboard.
That's correct.
And you basically can use it for active monitoring of your video card status, but you can also overclock on the fly at a hardware level without using up any additional system resources.
If all of a sudden you were in the game and you want to raise the multiplier for the CPU, bam, just go ahead and start adjusting the multiplier. You could adjust the voltage. You'll see the temperature information. Make the application, hit the F10 key, you're good to go. And you never even exited the application at all. So we're really offering you pretty much every single way that you can monitor and tune the platform on the R4E. It really takes this board to the nth degree in terms of the customization and the flexibility. So whether you want to do it through software, we got you covered. AI Suite 2, right? With Turbo V. If you want to do it through the UEFI, we have the most insane UEFI you're ever going to see on a board, especially with our Paradise options that we call them. And then you want to do external hardware level control, we've got ROG Connect, RC Bluetooth. You want to even take it further? Well, we've got OC Key now. So pretty much every which way till Sunday, we've got you covered in terms of how you want to tweak and tune and configure this board.
The OC Key. That is yet another innovation from ASUS, not just something we've never seen before, but also quite useful for anyone who's ever wants to do on-the-fly tweaking, overclocking, even while you're running a game or a benchmark.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what we're about. We tried to balance, of course, that you got a lot of overclocking features here, but we also want to, you know, have functional features, even something like the integrated PCH fan here that we can actually allow the user to control in our UEFI or in our software is put there because in these multi-GPU configurations, you're going to get more ambient heat. Just like when we introduced it on the Sabertooth board, we want to be able to ensure cool and reliable operation for the system. So we try to give, you know, each segment of users on ROG a little bit of what they're looking for so that hopefully at the end, the package really meets everybody's expectation in terms of putting out the best product that we can. And I think a little bit of the icing on the cake is you'll see we'll offer a secondary limited SKU where for the hardcore gamers that are out there, who does not want to be running Battlefield 3? So we will have a Rampage 3 Extreme that will also come bundled with Battlefield 3.
All right, Rampage 4.
Excuse me, yes, Rampage 4. Yeah.
And I think that wraps it up. Was there anything else that you wanted to add?
You know, there's always more, but definitely for this board, we're going to be doing a lot of extensive guide overview work. So definitely make sure to check us out at the ASUS ROG forums and our YouTube page. We'll definitely be spending more work on that stuff.
All right, and that's going to wrap it up for this video. We hope you have enjoyed and learned a crazy amount of information. This has been the ASUS ROG Rampage 4 Extreme motherboard for the 2011 socket, the X79 chipset. This is JJ from ASUS. If you want to hear more from him or check out more of their videos, please check out the ASUS ROG YouTube channel. I'm Paul with Newegg TV, and you can also check out the Newegg YouTube channel if you're not already watching it. Please feel free to subscribe as well if you'd like to see more tech videos. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Newegg TV.